Welcome back to Revise and Resubmit, the podcast that takes, those really dense academic papers and makes them surprisingly interesting. I'm Pavlov.
And I'm Nikita.
We've noticed a lot of you are tuning in, which is amazing, but I haven't quite hit that subscribe button yet.
Yeah, and that little button, honestly, it's so small, but it makes such a huge difference in helping us reach more people with these important discussions.
Right. It's true. Like the algorithms, those mysterious forces that decide what we all see and hear, they pay a lot of attention to subscriber numbers.
Yeah, think of it like the subscribing. It's like casting a vote for quality content, So these insightful research discussions don't just get lost in the sea of all the information out there.
More subscribers equals more visibility. Right. And that means more resources for us to make even deeper dives for you.
Yeah.
Maybe bring in experts for interviews, even do some live Q&A sessions where you can jump in.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about building a community around research,
Yeah.
where curiosity thrives and knowledge is like shared and debated.
Today we're exploring cosmic rays and the incredible story of Bibha Chaudhuri, a pioneering physicist who chased these high-energy particles to unlock some, pretty big secrets of the universe. We've got excerpts from a scientific paper about her life and some visuals too.
Oh, those are always fun.
Yeah, it really helps bring her story to life. Now, Bibha wasn't just making these scientific breakthroughs, she was breaking down barriers as a woman in science during a time when, that was incredibly challenging.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What's so fascinating about Bibha Chaudhuri is that she was doing all of this during a time when it was incredibly difficult for women to even, enter the scientific field. It was a huge accomplishment.
It's true. So let's start at the beginning. Bibha was born in India in 1913, a time when opportunities for women in science were pretty limited.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, science was largely considered a male domain back then. So, just the fact that she decided to go into a research lab was unusual, let alone actually, leading the research.
Right. But Bibha didn't let that stop her. She actually became the first woman researcher at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. That must have taken some serious determination, to even get to that point. What kind of resistance do you think she faced back then?
Oh, I'm sure it was a lot. I can't imagine how many raised eyebrows and closed doors she must have encountered, But she persevered. I mean, that was a monumental achievement, not just for her, but for, all the women in science who would follow in her footsteps after that. I mean, it was like a crack in that glass ceiling of the scientific world.
Totally. And at the Institute, she started working with physicist D.M. Bose. And their early research involved these photographic plates, kind of like super sensitive film almost, to capture the tracks of cosmic rays. Trying to capture these things, it must have been like trying to photograph ghosts.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. These particles are invisible to the naked eye, so these plates were, really the only way to see them, to see those trails that they left behind, almost like a detective dusting for fingerprints.
And they didn't just stay in the lab with these plates, did they? I read they actually took them all the way to the Himalayas.
Yes, that's right. They had to get to environments with less atmospheric interference. Think about it. The Earth's atmosphere absorbs a lot of those cosmic rays, so the higher you go, the closer you get to the source and the clearer the data. So hauling those plates up a mountain, that wasn't just dedication, it was a necessity.
Talk about going the extra mile for science.
Yeah.
Right? And through this research, using these photographic plates, they made a pretty big discovery, I'd say.
They did. Bibha and D.M. Bose were among the very first to identify a brand new subatomic particle, which they initially called the mesotron, but we now know it as the meson.
So they're looking at these tiny little tracks on a photographic plate, and then suddenly, boom, new particle. What exactly is a meson anyway? Why was this discovery such a huge deal?
Well, think of mesons like tiny magnets holding the center of an atom together. They're fundamental to our understanding of how matter is structured. Before their discovery, we didn't really have a good grasp of the forces that were binding the nucleus of an atom together. So this was a huge leap forward for particle physics.
Wow. So they literally helped us understand the glue that holds the universe together.
That's a great way to put it. And Bibha's analysis, her meticulous analysis, was key to this. She was the one painstakingly studying those tracks, differentiating between protons and mesons by their scattering and how they deposited energy.
It's crazy to think that such tiny tracks could lead to such a monumental discovery.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't they not actually win a Nobel Prize for this?
That's true, yeah. While their work was, absolutely groundbreaking, The Nobel Prize for the meson discovery actually ended up going to Cecil Powell, who he used a different technique to confirm their findings. But, it's really important to remember that science is a collaborative process, and sometimes that recognition doesn't always go to those initial discoverers. But Bibha and Bose's work, it provided this crucial early validation of the meson's existence and really built on the predictions, the theoretical predictions that had been made by Hideki Yukawa.
So their work paved the way for others to build upon that and ultimately, receive that Nobel Prize.
Exactly.
That makes you think about how interconnected scientific discovery really is.
It really is.
So what came next for Bibha after this?
Well, after her impactful work with those photographic plates, she decided to take on a new challenge, which was mastering this technology called the cloud chamber.
So this cloud chamber, it sounds like a big leap from, those mountaintop expeditions with the photographic plates. What exactly is a cloud chamber?
Well, it's pretty amazing. Imagine a sealed chamber filled with vapor, like a miniature, a super saturated atmosphere.
Okay.
When a charged particle zips through, it leaves behind a trail of these like tiny little droplets, kind of like, a jet leaving a contrail.
So you can basically create like a 3D snapshot of a particle's path.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, it really is. And Patrick Blackett, a pioneer in cloud chamber technology, was working at the University of Manchester in England, and that's where Bibha headed next.
Manchester was a real hub for particle physics at the time. And while Bibha was working on refining this cloud chamber technology there, an American physicist, Carl Anderson, made a big discovery using a cloud chamber. He discovered the positron.
Oh, yes, the positron. It's like the electron's mirror image. It's antimatter counterpart.
Oh, wow.
It was a huge discovery in particle physics.
So while she was refining this groundbreaking technology, another major discovery was happening right alongside her work. The world of particle physics must have been like buzzing with excitement at that time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was a really exciting time in the field, just full of discovery and advancement.
But Bibha wasn't just focused on particle physics at Manchester. She was also diving deep into the study of something called cosmic ray air showers.
Oh, right. So those muons that we talked about. Well, when a high-energy cosmic ray hits the Earth's atmosphere, it kind of triggers this chain reaction. It creates this cascade of secondary particles, including muons. And this cascade, it's what we call an air shower, and it's kind of like a giant particle party raining down on Earth.
A particle party. I love that. So by studying these air showers, scientists could learn more about the energy and the composition of the original cosmic ray. But how do you even begin to study something so massive and so chaotic?
Well, Bibha's experimental setup in Manchester was really innovative. She combined Geiger-Miller counters, or GM counters, which detect radiation, with cloud chambers. So this allowed her to not only detect the particles in the shower, but also to actually visualize their paths.
So she was essentially combining her expertise in both these cutting edge technology to get this clearer picture of these cosmic events.
Exactly. And her approach was really effective. She was, one of the very first to observe the penetrating component of these air showers, which, as we know now, those are muons.
Those muons are just popping up everywhere.
They really are. They're like this key piece of the cosmic ray puzzle. And Bibha's research, it provided these crucial early insights into their behavior.
Wow. It's incredible to think that, she was making such significant contributions to the field. But all this time, she was working so far away from her home in India. Did she ever go back?
Yes, she did. After her time in Manchester, Bibha decided to go back to India and actually, contribute to the growing scientific community there.
That must have been a big decision.
Yeah, it was. And it was a decision that would lead to even more groundbreaking work for her.
So Bibha returns to India after all this time abroad, bringing all this experience and expertise with her. What was the scientific landscape like in India at that time?
Well, it was really a time of a lot of growth and development for scientific research. The Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, TIAR, had been established in Bombay, and it was really becoming a center for really cutting-edge research.
And that's where Bibha's journey takes her next, right? She joins TIFR, becoming the first woman scientist at the institution. Again, breaking new ground.
It's true. I mean, even after achieving, international recognition for her work, she came back to a scientific community that was, still sort of evolving and where women face significant challenges.
That must have been starting over in a lot of ways. Did she face any pushback at all, even with all these impressive credentials?
I'm sure it wasn't always easy. I mean, just securing resources and, establishing her position in like a very male-dominated field must have presented its own set of hurdles, I would imagine.
But, as we've seen throughout her career, Biba was incredibly resilient. She didn't let those obstacles, stop her. What kind of research did she end up pursuing at DIFR?
Well, she continued her work on cosmic rays, leading a team and really focusing on this really ambitious project at the Kohler Goldfields, known as the KGF experiment.
Kohler Goldfields. Now, that sounds intriguing. I mean, what was a cosmic ray physicist doing in a gold mine?
It was all about getting closer to those muons that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So Biba and her team, they set up a detector deep underground, and they took advantage of like the natural shielding that all that rock provided. It's kind of like trying to understand, the language of the universe by listening to these really faint whispers, but like deep underground.
So they went deep underground to kind of block out like all the noise, so to speak, and just focus on the muons.
Exactly, because those muons can travel through miles of rock. So going underground like that allowed Biba to filter out all these other particles and really, really zero in on those muons. And remember, those muons, they're created in those cosmic ray air showers that we were talking about earlier. By studying them, we can learn about, the incredibly high energy processes that are happening out there in the cosmos.
It sounds like, incredibly challenging experiment.
Oh, it was. It was a huge, monumental effort. Just imagine the logistics of, setting up this really complex detector system deep inside a gold mine. It was, really a testament to Biba's ingenuity and her determination.
So what did they end up discovering, in the depths of the Kohler Goldfield?
Well, through this experiment, Biba successfully observed and measured something called the photonuclear cross sections of, these high energy muons.
Okay, I have to admit that sounds pretty complex. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Well, simply put, it's really about understanding how those muons interact with the nuclei of atoms, and these findings were really critical because they provided insights into the fundamental forces at play within those atoms. So, it really furthered our understanding of particle physics.
So this research, conducted deep within a gold mine in India, was really pushing the boundaries of our knowledge about the very building blocks of the universe.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of how scientific discoveries can happen, anywhere, often in the most unexpected places.
It really is inspiring. So after years of this, groundbreaking work, Biba eventually retired from TIFR. But, that doesn't mean her scientific journey ended there, right?
No, not at all. Her passion for science, it never faded. She continued to hold research positions and, contribute to the field, even in her later years.
It seems like that thirst for knowledge and exploration was just, unquenchable.
It really was. And, her dedication extended beyond her own research, too. She became a real mentor to a lot of younger scientists, especially, women, encouraging them to pursue their own scientific dreams.
Her story is such a powerful reminder that age is no barrier to pursuing your passion. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Biba Chowdhury's remarkable life, what would you say is her most enduring legacy?
I think Biba's legacy is really multifaceted. She made huge contributions to particle physics and, cosmic ray research. She challenged societal norms, and she inspired generations of scientists, especially women in India.
She was a true trailblazer. Her story reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge can really transcend boundaries. And, with passion and perseverance, we can overcome obstacles and make a real difference in the world.
And it leaves us with, a thought-provoking question. What other pioneering figures in science might be hidden from, common knowledge? How can we make sure that the contributions of all scientists, regardless of their background, are, recognized and celebrated?
That's something for all of us to think about. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those stories of, unsung heroes alive. And don't forget to subscribe to Revise and Resubmit on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you're enjoying the show and want to support us in creating more insightful content, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Every contribution helps us continue this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, keep those minds curious, keep questioning, and keep revising and resubmitting.